Flash Gordon was supposed to be a simple space adventure, but what Hollywood got instead was a beautiful catastrophe. From a leading man who mysteriously vanished over Christmas, never returning to his own $30 million movie, to grown men in bird costumes who couldn't sit down because their wings caused too much pain, the production spiraled into one of the strangest spectacles ever filmed. So how did a film mocked as a disaster become a cult classic adored for its chaos, color, and charm, and what secrets from that turbulent shoot are still hidden today? Here are the weirdest, wildest facts you never knew about Flash Gordon. Number 1. The rejection that changed cinema forever. It started with a simple no. A young George Lucas arrived in Dino De Laurentiis's office, hoping to adapt Flash Gordon for the big screen. De Laurentiis took one look at the eager filmmaker and turned him down. Lucas walked away disappointed, but determined. If he couldn't make Flash Gordon, he would create his own space epic. That refusal became the spark that birthed Star Wars, the film that would reshape Hollywood forever. The irony hit De Laurentiis hard. Once Star Wars exploded into a global phenomenon, he suddenly realized he needed his own sci-fi blockbuster. The very property he dismissed now became his obsession. And the weirdness didn't stop there. His dream director, Federico Fellini, had actually drawn illegal Flash Gordon comics in the 1930s Italy when Mussolini banned American strips. Fellini refused the job, but the production still named Princess Aura's pet after him, a tribute that may have sounded more like a jab. From there, chaos ruled. Italian crews who barely spoke English. A translator who mixed up words so badly she once described a beautiful woman as a cat. Actors playing scenes with total sincerity, while the creative team believed they were making a comedy. No one realized they were accidentally crafting a cult classic, one destined to be beloved precisely because of its glorious misfires. Number 2. The flop that became a phenomenon. When Flash Gordon landed in theaters in 1980, it faced an impossible opponent: Star Wars. George Lucas had wanted to make Flash Gordon originally, and now his own creation was dominating the box office with gritty battles and serious heroes. Audiences expecting something similar were stunned instead by campy dialogue, theatrical performances, and a world that felt more like a comic panel come to life. Most American moviegoers didn't know what to make of it. The film collapsed quickly in the U.S. Theaters pulled it within weeks. Critics shredded it, and De Laurentiis watched his investment evaporate. But in Europe, the story flipped. Viewers there embraced the bright colors, the exaggerated acting, and Queen's thunderous soundtrack. The same movie that failed in America was suddenly a hit overseas. Screenwriter Lorenzo Semple Jr. took the criticism hard. He later admitted the movie's confused tone, sometimes serious, sometimes silly, was a mistake from the start. Yet that very failure set the stage for something unexpected. Without the pressure of being a mainstream blockbuster, Flash Gordon was free to become something stranger, looser, and far more beloved. Through home video and late-night TV, the film found its true audience. Fans celebrated everything critics hated: the stiff dialogue, the wild costumes, the chaotic energy. What once seemed like flaws became the very things that gave the movie its identity. Slowly, Flash Gordon transformed from box office disaster into a cult classic that outlasted many of the hits released alongside it. Number 3. The dating game discovery that changed everything. Sam Jones walked onto the dating game stage hoping to earn a little money. His resume was thin, just a tiny appearance in 10 and a Playgirl spread. But he played along, answered the questions, failed to charm the contestant, and left with nothing. What he didn't know was that a member of the De Laurentiis family happened to be watching from home. The next morning, the phone rang. Within hours, Jones was sitting across from producer Dino De Laurentiis, who saw exactly what he needed: a handsome, all-American blonde who looked like Flash Gordon. Acting skills were hardly a concern. Jones wasn't even the first choice. Kurt Russell had already declined, and Arnold Schwarzenegger had been rejected over his accent. But the casting search had become chaotic. During screen tests, Jones nearly lost the role anyway. The team insisted he wear blue contact lenses to resemble the comic strip hero, but he struggled to read his lines, squinting and stumbling until he finally asked to take them out. The change was instant. Without the lenses, he could actually perform. That small moment saved his audition and secured the part that would define his short Hollywood rise. He had stumbled into the role by accident. Ironically, his future co-star was doing everything she could to avoid hers. Number 4. Translation chaos. The translator who couldn't translate. Lorenzo Semple. Jr., known for his work on the Batman TV series and previous collaborations with De Laurentiis, seemed like the ideal writer for Flash Gordon. But a problem no one anticipated derailed everything. De Laurentiis insisted that every draft be translated into Italian by his personal translator, a woman who, astonishingly, could not translate properly at all. Simple descriptions turned into absurdities. When Semple wrote that a tall, beautiful woman entered a room, the translation transformed her into a beautiful cat. Semple was horrified as entire scenes dissolved into nonsense. He brought the issue to De Laurentiis, expecting an immediate solution. Instead, De Laurentiis gave one of the strangest explanations imaginable. He admitted he didn't want clean translations because he preferred not to be influenced by exact dialogue. Only the broad shape of the story mattered to him. That mindset created confusion everywhere. Actors were told one day to play it seriously, the next day to lean into comedy. Scenes clashed in tone and purpose, leaving the cast and crew unsure whether they were making a sci-fi adventure or a spoof. Meanwhile, De Laurentiis kept pushing Semple to make the script funnier, like his Batman work, a choice Semple later admitted was disastrous. And yet, even this translation fiasco was only the beginning of the chaos to come. Number 5. The kidnapped co-star's desperate escape attempt. Melody Anderson thought her path was set. She was preparing to leave New York for Los Angeles to star in a new TV series when Dino De Laurentiis suddenly insisted she take a role in Flash Gordon. She explained she couldn't. She had commitments. She needed to get to California, but De Laurentiis simply told her she would do the film. That night she was put on a plane to London. She later described the experience as feeling kidnapped, yanked from her plans, and dropped into a movie she never wanted. The cast that met in London added to the chaos. Max von Sydow arrived thrilled, finally getting to play a character he'd loved since childhood. Timothy Dalton treated it as the opposite, a straightforward job he approached with cool efficiency. Their clashing energies, mixed with Anderson's frustration, created a volatile atmosphere that echoed through the entire production. Number 6. Costume torture chamber. The impossible costume designs were only the start of a nightmare that tormented the cast. The outfits that made Flash Gordon visually spectacular were, in reality, physical torture devices. Actors weren't simply wearing costumes, they were trapped inside them. The Hawkmen suffered the most. Their massive wings looked majestic on screen, but between takes they couldn't sit. The wings dug painfully into their backs. Crew members often found them lying face down on the floor during breaks, exhausted and hurting. Melody Anderson faced her own ordeal during the spider transformation sequence. Makeup artists spent 6 hours painting her green and attaching a 25-pound headpiece filled with rolling glass eyeballs and dripping fake blood. After 10 hours in the contraption, the director casually revealed the setup wasn't even needed for the script. Even the action scenes became disasters. The silver paint on the tilting disc props rubbed off constantly, covering Sam Jones and Timothy Dalton until the crew had to stop filming just to scrub them clean. Number 7. The Crazed Italians' Impossible Designs. The cast's clashing personalities were nothing compared to the force shaping their entire world. Danilo Donati, a two-time Oscar winner known for his brilliant design work, approached Flash Gordon with a passion that bordered on obsession. Instead of adapting the comic strips, he tried to recreate them exactly, studying every panel with near scholarly intensity. Lorenzo Semple Jr. later joked that Donati designed the movie around the costumes, not the story. Soon, sets existed mainly to showcase outfits, and scenes were crafted to display Donati's visual ideas. The tail began wagging the dog in the most expensive way possible. His creations were undeniably stunning. Glittering costumes, radiant sets, every frame bursting with color and extravagance. But beauty came with consequences. Actors could barely move in their elaborate outfits, and many sets were gorgeous but impractical for action. The Hawkmen couldn't sit because their wings stabbed into their backs. Donati had built a dazzling, impossible world, one that pushed the production deeper into chaos, even as it made the film unforgettable. Number 8. The Star Who Vanished. Sam Jones wasn't just battling uncomfortable costumes. He was clashing with nearly everyone on set. The former quarterback had developed a reputation for getting into real physical altercations, adding even more chaos to an already turbulent production. Then, on Christmas morning, he simply disappeared. In a move that stunned everyone, Dino De Laurentiis refused to halt the $30 million film. Instead, he instructed director Mike Hodges to keep shooting using stand-ins and voice doubles. Flash Gordon became the first major Hollywood movie finished without its lead actor, leaving behind a production mystery that still puzzles fans today. And yet, Jones's vanishing act was only one of the strange secrets that lingered over the film. Number 9. The voice actor, whose identity remains secret. After Sam Jones vanished over Christmas break, director Mike Hodges was left with a massive problem. Large sections of the film still needed dialogue, and the lead actor was nowhere to be found. With no other choice, Hodges hired an anonymous voice actor to dub Jones's missing lines, a decision that created one of Hollywood's strangest lingering mysteries. No one knows who the replacement voice belongs to. Hodges insisted only a few lines were dubbed. Jones later claimed most of his dialogue was replaced. The truth remains unclear, especially since the dubbed lines blend so seamlessly that even experts can't agree which moments feature Jones and which feature the stand-in. Viewers still hear Flash Gordon shouting, "I'm flying blind on a rocket cycle," but the question remains, whose voice is it? The Italian crew couldn't speak English well enough to keep proper records, and that missing documentation only deepened the confusion. But the voice mystery was nothing compared to the chaos that unfolded once filming resumed. Number 10. The accidental comedy that horrified its creator. The strangest twist in Flash Gordon's production was that no one intended it to be funny. Director Mike Hodges instructed the cast to play everything with absolute seriousness. No jokes, no winks, just straight sci-fi drama. But when the crew gathered to watch the daily footage, they couldn't stop laughing. The more earnestly the actors delivered their lines, the funnier the scenes became. Dino De Laurentiis was stunned. He wanted a grand space epic, not unplanned comedy. One day, Sam Jones idly picked up a prop egg and joked it looked like a football. Melody Anderson teased back that if he was the quarterback, she should be the cheerleader. They improvised the entire sequence just to amuse themselves. No script, no planning, just two bored actors killing time. Played with total sincerity, it accidentally became one of the film's funniest moments. And the biggest surprise was still ahead. Number 11. The lawsuit that killed the sequels forever. After Flash Gordon flopped, most assumed the story was finished, but Sam Jones wasn't ready to let it go. Citing a contract that promised him 2 sequels, he took Dino De Laurentiis to court, demanding the producer follow through. It was a bold move, especially given how troubled the first production had been. The lawsuit never stood a real chance. De Laurentiis had already written off the project after losing millions and had no interest in making more films with the actor who'd caused him so much chaos. Still, the legal fight dragged on for months, with Jones hoping for a chance at redemption. In the end, he lost completely. No sequels, no comeback, no future as Flash Gordon. What followed was even stranger. Jones left Hollywood, moved to Mexico, and became a private bodyguard. The planned sequels, new worlds, new villains, a possible creative fix, vanished into myth. The lawsuit didn't just halt Jones's career, it buried the franchise for decades, or so it seemed. Number 12. Queen. Mike Hodges originally wanted Pink Floyd to create a dark, atmospheric soundtrack for Flash Gordon. But, like much of the production, things took an unexpected turn. Queen's manager heard about the project and arranged a meeting with Dino De Laurentiis, who, in a moment that has become Hollywood legend, admitted he had never even heard of the band. He didn't listen to rock music at all, yet suddenly found himself negotiating with one of the biggest groups in the world. Queen had their own vision. Instead of providing simple background music, they wanted full creative control to craft a true rock soundtrack that matched the film's wild energy. After watching about 20 minutes of footage, they immediately understood the tone. Brian May and Roger Taylor saw the colorful chaos and knew they could elevate it. The result was iconic. Queen didn't just compose songs. They built a soundscape that transformed every scene into something larger than life. The driving rhythms, soaring vocals, and perfect sync with the action created a soundtrack that ultimately outshined the film itself. In the end, the music became Flash Gordon's most enduring legacy. In the end, Flash Gordon survived chaos, clashes, vanishing stars, impossible costumes, and even a producer who didn't know who Queen was, and somehow emerged as one of the strangest, most beloved cult films ever made. Every disaster only made its legacy more unforgettable. But now the question is yours. Which behind-the-scenes moment shocked you the most, and why? Tell us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the madness behind Flash Gordon, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for our next video.